You guys asked to see more projects using the CRICUT machine, which is behind me, and I have a couple of family birthdays coming up, so I went on CRICUT Design Space to see what they had for cards, birthday cards, and they actually have some cool pop-up ones. I couldn't decide which one to make, so I went on my community tab and Patreon and asked you guys, and the overwhelming majority of the comments were for the dragon, so let's try it out. It shows this project is intermediate level, which I've never done, and it should take 1 to 2 hours. All the materials and tools are listed for me, including instructions, which look easy to follow. This will cost me $1.99 to make. I can also customize these files if I want to, but I will not be doing that for this project. I later found that it was easier to do all of this and follow the instructions on my phone, so I switched to the CRICUT Design Space app, then gathered all my cardstock pieces. Some of the colors I picked out are different than what's in the project, but that's okay, you can choose whatever you want. I didn't have any glitter paper for the flame, but I do have this gold foil, which I think should work. First up is the inside of the card. Put that paper on the standard grip mat, and into the machine it goes. When it comes to little tiny cuts, I found that pulling the paper off with the little spatula this way kind of makes the confetti stick on the mat so I don't have to pick it out. Or the other way is to roll the mat on the table and projects will come off easier that way, but then little pieces don't come out completely. So it kind of varies. I use both methods, and I scrape off the leftovers to use it again. This next piece of paper requires a CRICUT pen, which I plugged in. It prompts you to set the material type each time you load a new mat, and when it's ready, it will tell you when to change out the tools. This can get a little tedious if you have a lot of paper to cut that needs scoring, cutting, drawing. I bet in the future CRICUT will have a machine that does all of it in one, and you won't have to keep switching out the tools. This one has some of the wings and cake, and you don't have to use large cardstock sheets like I did. I believe there's a feature that will take a picture of your mat and show you how to make the most of your scraps. I haven't tried that yet. It is kind of fun to watch it draw, and less work for me to draw all those details. Most of these sheets needed all 3 tools, so a lot of this process was switching out each tool, putting the blade back in, taking it out, putting the scoring wheel in. Not all CRICUT projects are like that, but this one has a lot going on since there's a pop-up feature. The files also come with an envelope cutout, which I thought was nice to complete the card. Now on to cutting out the dragon pieces, which made me think this would have taken me forever to cut out by hand, and it's nice it also draws those little details. Some of the shapes might have been better placed in the middle, so I'd have a chunk of cardstock left over. If you don't like the default placement, you can actually move the pieces around in the app before you cut. The smaller pieces of the card are more delicate. I especially found the party hat to be a little worrying pulling off the mat, but I didn't rip it. It came out okay. And the leftovers could make some fun confetti to use on other projects. Now that everything is cut, scored, and doodled on, I can finally assemble all the pieces. I'm going to follow the instructions provided, and I'm using a glue stick since it dries quickly. For the main body of the dragon, it didn't give too much detail in the instructions, so I ended up zooming in on the pictures to kind of guess where things should go. It didn't say what to fold back, so I assumed that this should be folded. Whoever made this project and uploaded it to CRICUT, I'm glad that they added those pictures because I ended up relying on those a lot to figure this out. Somehow the party hat confused me. There were 3 pieces, and so I couldn't figure out where the third one should go, and I just kind of made it work. I don't know if this is how it went because it didn't say in the instructions. Somehow I got it to stay on the dragon, but I did need help with some tweezers because my fingers are just too thick for delicate pieces like this. I regret the coffee I had before this because it does take some steady hands to do these little pieces. This made me question if I have a future in model building. I don't know if I can make really tiny paper crafts. It took a lot of patience. Most of the process of assembling the dragon was me questioning how am I supposed to do that, because the pictures were just there and it was one sentence of instruction, like assemble this. So it was a lot of trial and error. Now on to making the card. It did say to glue these tabs onto the base for the dragon and glue on the banner tabs to the inside card pieces. This ended up being a little tricky as it said to avoid showing the yellow on the back so that it wouldn't show through on the front of the dragon. You'll see what I mean soon. And also to leave 6mm in between the two pieces. And I ended up just gluing it wrong, and so I took it apart, re-glued the tabs, and glued it to the outside of the card. I didn't think it needed glue on the entire thing, so I glued it in spots and kept that 6mm border around everything. I carefully added glue to the dragon cutout, and here's the front where you can see the tab shows through. I don't know how you can avoid that since the tab cutout is right there. That's where it's meant to go. Not a big deal, but I could shorten those tabs on the file to avoid that. Now for the dragon part, all it said was dragon should be on the top of the card. And it didn't say to glue it or anything. And it would be kind of weird just to put the dragon in the card and then it just falls over when you open it. So I did put some glue on the sides of the base, but I later found out that didn't work because it would just pop off. And the base actually needs to move a little as the card opens. I don't know what the right solution for this is because there are no instructions for it. So after doing some thinking, I figured out that maybe an extra piece glued on the bottom could help. I folded 2 zigzags like this from extra paper, glued those underneath on each side, so this way it has a little bit of wiggle room, but it still will stay on the card when you open it. The easiest part of all of this was the envelope, I'd say, because it was just simple. Fold the flaps, glue them, done. And when the card is all folded, it does fit nicely into the envelope. I do think it would be cool if there was like a wax stamp here. If you were into the whole medieval theme, this would make a cool invitation. After all that hard work, I can say it is kind of satisfying to have such an intricate piece of paper art. I've never made anything like this before, and I think the dragon is super cute. There's enough space for a happy birthday note, and I think this is a card that someone would actually want to keep. Some of the pieces didn't align perfectly, and I did have to improvise. I don't know if that's a common thing for intermediate projects, and I don't even know what an advanced project would look like. Maybe if I have enough patience, I will try an advanced one in the future. A big thanks to my patrons and members for supporting my channel. If you're interested in joining, check out the links below. Also, subscribe while you're down there if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you get notified, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!